Most people expect their eyesight to change with age, and some change is normal. But it is worth knowing that age alone does not explain every loss of vision, and healthy choices can still matter. The goal today is not to promise sharper sight from a piece of fruit. It is to understand what the back of the eye needs, what the research actually supports, and which fruits can fit into an eye-friendly eating pattern. I am Dr. James Carter, and I want to make this simple. At the center of the retina, the light-sensitive tissue lining the back of the eye, sits a tiny area called the macula. The macula helps you see fine detail straight ahead. It is what lets you read a sentence, recognize a face, thread a needle, or judge a road sign. When age-related macular degeneration, or AMD, affects this area, central vision can become blurry, distorted, or less useful. Peripheral vision may remain, which is why AMD does not usually mean total blindness, but losing central detail can change reading, driving, cooking, hobbies, and recognizing faces. Understanding that difference helps explain why protecting the macula gets so much attention in healthy aging today. The macula also contains a yellow protective pigment. Two important nutrients in that pigment are lutein and zeaxanthin. Your body does not make these carotenoids in meaningful amounts, so they come from food. Leafy green vegetables are especially rich sources, but several fruits also provide useful amounts or support the same general nutrition pattern. These pigments help absorb high-energy light and also act as antioxidants inside the eye. The retina is unusually active tissue. Its light-sensing cells work all day, and parts of those cells are continually renewed. That normal work creates oxidative stress, which simply means unstable molecules can build up and damage cells when the body's defenses cannot keep pace. This is one reason researchers have spent decades studying antioxidants, carotenoids, blood vessel health, and diet in relation to aging eyes. One of the strongest pieces of evidence comes from the National Eye Institute's AREDS2 research. That trial did not prove that fruit cures AMD. It studied a specific supplement formula in people at higher risk of advanced AMD. Among participants with low dietary intake of lutein and zeaxanthin, adding those nutrients to the AREDS formula was linked with a lower risk of progressing to advanced disease. That is useful evidence, but it applies to a defined group, not everybody watching this video. It also matters that AREDS2 tested a carefully designed supplement formula rather than a bowl of fruit. We can learn from the nutrients involved without pretending the trial proved that any particular snack can reproduce the same result. Food evidence and supplement evidence are related, but they are not interchangeable. So I like to think about eye-friendly foods as doing three broad jobs. First, they can provide carotenoids that contribute to macular pigment. Second, they can support normal blood vessel health through nutrients such as vitamin C and plant compounds called flavonoids. Third, they can add antioxidants that help the body handle everyday oxidative stress. No single fruit does all of this perfectly, and no fruit replaces an eye exam or medical care. Now about eating fruit in the evening. There is no strong evidence that fruit suddenly becomes better for the retina after sunset. Nutrition works across days, weeks, and years. Still, an evening fruit snack can be a practical way to include these foods, and one fruit on this list has a small study suggesting a possible sleep benefit. That brings us to kiwi. Kiwi earns attention for two simple reasons. It is rich in vitamin C, and it also contains carotenoids, including lutein. Vitamin C is present in eye tissues and helps defend cells against oxidative stress. That does not mean kiwi prevents cataracts or AMD by itself. It means kiwi brings several nutrients that fit comfortably inside a balanced diet built around fruits, vegetables, protein, whole grains, and healthy fats. The sleep claim needs a careful look. A small study from Taipei Medical University followed 24 adults who reported sleep problems. They ate 2 kiwi fruits about an hour before bedtime for 4 weeks. The researchers reported improvements in measures such as how long it took participants to fall asleep, total sleep time, and sleep efficiency. Interesting, yes. Final proof, no. The study was small, had no large control group, and involved adults younger than many people who watch this channel. So, Kiwi may be a pleasant evening food, but it is not a treatment for insomnia. Next comes citrus, especially oranges. Everybody knows oranges for vitamin C, but citrus also contains flavonoids, a family of plant compounds that researchers study for antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and blood vessel effects. One long-running Australian study, the Blue Mountains Eye Study, found an association that got a lot of attention. People who reported eating at least one serving of oranges a day had lower odds of developing late AMD over 15 years than people who reported never eating oranges. That was an observational finding. It cannot prove that oranges cause the difference. People who regularly eat fruit may also differ in many other ways, including smoking, activity, blood pressure, and the rest of their diet. Still, the study supports a broader point. Fruit rich in vitamin C and flavonoids can be part of a dietary pattern linked with healthier aging. Whole fruit usually makes more sense than juice for everyday eating because the fiber remains with it. Fiber slows how quickly the natural sugars are absorbed and also helps with fullness. For someone living with diabetes or closely managing blood sugar, fruit still counts as carbohydrate, so the amount and timing are good topics to discuss with the clinician or dietitian who knows that person's full plan. The iMessage is not that juice is poison, it is simply that whole fruit gives you more of the original food. Number 3 is the dark berry family: blueberries, blackberries, and dark raspberries. Their deep blue, purple, and almost black colors come partly from pigments called anthocyanins. These plant compounds have antioxidant properties and are being studied for effects on blood vessels, inflammation, and several parts of healthy aging. There is also an old story that British pilots ate bilberry jam during the Second World War and suddenly gained remarkable night vision. That story became far more famous than the evidence behind it. Controlled studies have not shown that berries give people superhuman night sight. What berries do offer is much less dramatic and much more believable: fiber, vitamins, and a concentrated mix of plant compounds. Researchers continue to study anthocyanins because laboratory and human evidence suggests they may support vascular and antioxidant defenses. That is a reasonable area of interest, but it is still different from proving that berries prevent a specific eye disease. Fresh berries are useful, and frozen berries can be useful too. Freezing does not turn them into a lesser food, and it often makes them easier to keep around without waste. So far, we have kiwi, citrus, and dark berries. The next fruit is one many people still think belongs in the vegetable drawer. Avocado is botanically a fruit, and it brings something different to this conversation. It contains lutein, but its bigger advantage may be the fat that comes with it. Lutein and zeaxanthin are fat-soluble nutrients. In plain English, the body absorbs carotenoids better when some dietary fat is present in the same meal. That is why a colorful salad with a source of healthy fat can deliver carotenoids differently from the same vegetables eaten completely fat-free. There is also a small randomized study worth knowing about. Researchers followed 40 healthy older adults for 6 months. One group ate an avocado each day, while the comparison group ate either a potato or chickpeas. The avocado group showed an increase in macular pigment density from baseline. That is an interesting biological change, and it supports the idea that food can affect the nutrients present in the macula. But the study was small, and it was not designed to prove that avocado prevents blindness or stops AMD. So the practical lesson is not that everybody needs avocado at night. It is that meals containing lutein-rich foods work well with a modest source of dietary fat. Avocado happens to provide both in one food. That same principle is why researchers have found that adding fat to carotenoid-rich vegetables can improve absorption. Number 5 is the goji berry, sometimes called wolfberry. These small red berries stand out because they contain zeaxanthin, one of the main carotenoids found in macular pigment. A University of California Davis team ran a small randomized trial in healthy adults between 45 and 65. 13 people in the goji group ate a small serving of dried goji berries 5 days a week for 90 days. Researchers found an increase in measures of protective eye pigments in that group. Again, small study, interesting signal, not a cure. The participants were healthy and did not have AMD, so the result does not tell us that goji berries treat macular degeneration. It tells us that a food rich in zeaxanthin can measurably affect carotenoid status in the eye under study conditions. That is a much more responsible conclusion. Number 6 is mango. Mango provides several nutrients, including beta-carotene. The body can convert beta-carotene into vitamin A when needed. Vitamin A is essential for normal vision, including the visual cycle used by the retina in dim light. One light-sensitive pigment involved in night vision is rhodopsin, and vitamin A is part of the chemistry that allows that system to keep working. Here is where internet health talk often runs too far. Eating mango does not mean headlights will stop glaring, night driving will become easy, or an eye disease will reverse. True vitamin A deficiency can cause problems with night vision, but difficulty seeing at night can have many causes. Cataracts, retinal disease, glaucoma, medications, and normal changes in the eye can all play a role. A new or worsening night vision problem belongs in a proper eye evaluation, not in a fruit bowl diagnosis. Mango is also naturally sweet. For people managing diabetes, that does not make it forbidden. It simply means the carbohydrate still matters, just as it does with other fruit. A clinician or dietitian can help fit fruit into an individual eating plan. That keeps the conversation practical without turning a normal food into a medical prescription for everyone. At this point, the list is complete. Kiwi, citrus, dark berries, avocado, goji berries, and mango. But a list can create the wrong impression. The real value comes from the pattern around it, and that is where one simple example can make the difference. Let me use a fictional example, because a made-up story is safer than pretending one person's outcome proves a medical point. Imagine Eleanor, 66, a gardener who loves tiny details, new leaves, seed packets, handwritten cards, and the faces of her grandchildren. During a routine eye visit, her doctor finds early changes consistent with dry AMD. She feels well and notices very little difference in daily life, which is common because early AMD may cause no obvious symptoms. Her doctor explains that AMD can progress at very different speeds. Some people remain stable for years. Others develop more noticeable central vision changes. The right follow-up depends on the stage, the findings in each eye, and the person's full health picture. So Eleanor leaves with a monitoring plan rather than a promise that food, glasses, or a single supplement will make the condition disappear. At home, she decides to take the nutrition side seriously, but not dramatically. She keeps more colorful produce in the house. Some evenings that means kiwi or berries. On another day, it may be an orange. Avocado may appear with a meal that also contains vegetables. Goji berries or mango might show up occasionally because she likes them. The point is not a rigid nightly routine. The point is that nutrient-rich foods become normal rather than rare. She is not chasing a perfect menu or worrying that missing one evening will harm her eyes. She is simply building a pattern she can keep, because long-term nutrition research makes far more sense when we think in months and years rather than one dramatic meal. She also asks a more important question at her next visit. Does her stage of AMD make an AREDS 2-type supplement appropriate? That decision belongs with an eye care professional, because AREDS 2 formulas are not meant for every person, every stage, or every eye problem. The National Eye Institute specifically advises people to discuss the formula with their doctor or eye care professional. And there is more to protecting vision than fruit. The National Eye Institute points to regular physical activity, not smoking, keeping blood pressure and cholesterol in a healthy range, and eating a healthy diet that includes leafy green vegetables and fish. Those habits matter because the eye is connected to the rest of the body. Blood vessels, metabolism, smoking exposure, and overall nutrition do not stop at the neck. Sleep belongs in the conversation too, but not because we can prove that a kiwi delivered at a certain hour switches on a special retinal repair program. The retina follows daily light and dark rhythms, and normal cell renewal continues around the clock with strong circadian patterns. Good sleep also supports many parts of general health. That is enough reason to care about sleep without attaching a medical promise to a bedtime snack. Now imagine Eleanor returns for follow-up and her eye findings are stable. It would be tempting to credit the fruit. We cannot do that. Stability can happen for many reasons, and a single person's experience cannot prove cause and effect. Diet may support health, but it does not reverse established AMD, erase drusen, or guarantee that disease will stop moving forward. That distinction matters because hope is useful only when it stays honest. Food can be part of caring for the body. It cannot replace monitoring, proven treatment when treatment is needed, or a conversation with an eye specialist. And before we talk about simple food choices you can discuss with your own clinician, there is one part of eye health that deserves even more attention: knowing when a vision change should not wait. Some eye changes are gradual. Others deserve prompt medical attention. One warning sign connected with late AMD is when straight lines begin to look wavy, bent, or crooked. A door frame, window frame, or grid may seem distorted in one eye. A new, blurry, or blank spot near the center of vision can also matter. The National Eye Institute advises people who notice straight lines becoming wavy to see an eye doctor right away. Eye doctors sometimes use an Amsler grid, a simple square grid with a dot in the center, to help people monitor central vision. The important point is not to diagnose yourself from a home test. A change on a grid is a reason to contact the eye care team that knows your history. Other conditions can also make lines look distorted, so the symptom needs evaluation. There is another group of symptoms that people often mix together with macular degeneration: a sudden shower of new floaters, repeated flashes of light, or a dark curtain or shadow moving across part of the vision. Those signs can happen with a retinal tear or retinal detachment. That is a different problem from AMD, and it can be urgent. A sudden change like that calls for eye care, rather than waiting to see whether food, rest, or a new pair of glasses makes it settle down. This is the line I never want a nutrition video to blur. Food is for long-term health. It is not emergency treatment. No berry, kiwi, orange, avocado, goji berry, mango, vitamin, or supplement belongs between a person and urgent eye care when vision changes suddenly. Regular dilated eye exams matter for the opposite reason. Early AMD may be quiet. A person can feel that vision is fine, while an eye professional can already see changes in the retina. The timing of exams depends on age, risk factors, past findings, diabetes, family history, and other eye conditions. A useful question for an eye doctor is simply, how often do my eyes need to be checked based on what you see today? It is also worth asking what changes at home would justify an earlier call instead of waiting for the next scheduled visit. Another useful question is, do I have any sign of AMD? And if so, what stage is it? The stage matters because the conversation around monitoring, supplements, and treatment changes with it. People sometimes hear the words macular degeneration and immediately buy whatever bottle has a picture of an eye on the label. That is not a safe way to make a medical decision. The evidence for AREDS 2 is specific, and an eye care professional can explain whether it applies. That matters because AREDS and AREDS 2 formulas were studied for certain AMD risk levels, not as general multivitamins for stronger eyesight. For people with diabetes, blood pressure problems, or other health conditions that can affect the eyes, the same principle holds. Eye health is not separate from medical care. Keeping regular appointments and understanding the condition being monitored matters more than chasing a single food. So when you hear a headline that says, "One fruit can save your eyesight," pause. The more accurate message is less dramatic. Certain nutrients are important to the retina. Certain dietary patterns are associated with better health. Specific research has found interesting results with lutein, zeaxanthin, citrus flavonoids, avocado, and goji berries, but none of that turns fruit into a treatment for sudden symptoms or established eye disease. With that clear, we can finish with a simple way to think about tonight's food, without turning dinner into a prescription. Here is the calm takeaway today. You do not need all 6 fruits, and you do not need to eat them at a certain hour for your eyes to benefit from a healthy diet. Think variety and consistency instead. If fruit already fits your eating plan, kiwi can bring vitamin C and carotenoids. Citrus brings vitamin C and flavonoids. Dark berries bring anthocyanins. Avocado brings lutein together with fat. Goji berries are rich in zeaxanthin. Mango brings beta-carotene and other nutrients. The strongest eye health pattern is bigger than this list. Leafy greens remain major sources of lutein and zeaxanthin. Fish, vegetables, fruits, and other minimally processed foods can all fit into a balanced diet. The National Eye Institute also emphasizes physical activity, avoiding smoking and caring for blood pressure and cholesterol. That is not as catchy as one miracle fruit before bed, but it is much closer to how health actually works. If an evening snack helps you eat more whole fruit and less heavily processed food, that can be a reasonable personal routine. The research does not show that the clock itself is doing the work. The kiwi sleep study is interesting, but it was small. The orange study found an association, not proof of cause. The avocado and goji studies showed changes in eye pigments in small groups, not guaranteed protection from vision loss. Those details keep the message honest. They also protect you from the exhausting cycle of health headlines that turn one small study into a rule for everyone. Good evidence builds slowly, with studies adding pieces rather than one food becoming answer. There are also individual details that a general video cannot see. Some people manage diabetes, some have food allergies, some take medicines or have kidney, digestive, or other health concerns that affect food choices. That is why personal medical and nutrition decisions belong with a qualified professional who knows the full picture. For an eye appointment, 4 questions can make the conversation more useful. What does my retina look like today? Do I have AMD? And if so, what stage? Is an AREDS 2 formula relevant to my situation? How often do I need a dilated eye exam or other monitoring? Those questions help turn a vague fear about losing vision into a clear plan based on actual findings. And remember the warning signs. New wavy central vision deserves prompt eye care contact. A sudden burst of floaters, flashes, or a curtain-like shadow can point to a retinal tear or detachment and also needs evaluation. Do not wait for the next grocery trip when vision changes suddenly. The good news is that caring for your eyes does not require a complicated ritual. It starts with understanding what the evidence can and cannot say. Food provides nutrients the eye uses. Healthy habits support the whole vascular and metabolic system that the eye depends on. Regular exams catch problems that a mirror cannot show. And when a real warning sign appears, timely professional care matters far more than any snack. I am Dr. James Carter. If you value calm, simple health explanations that help you ask better questions and understand what the research really means, subscribe to the channel. I will keep bringing you practical health education without the fear, hype, or miracle promises. This content is for general educational purposes only and is not medical advice. It does not diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any condition. Please speak with a qualified healthcare professional before changing your diet, medication, treatment, supplement use, or health routine, and seek prompt medical care for sudden or concerning changes in vision.